The sun was going down behind the hills. The sky turned orange and gold, and the land looked quiet and calm. Rancher Eli McGrath stood near his barn, wiping his hands with an old rag. His day had been long feeding the horses, fixing a broken gate, and hauling wood for the fire. He was tired, but used to it. That was ranch life. Then he saw her, a figure walking slowly down the dusty road near his property. She wasn't on a horse. She wasn't driving, just walking, barefoot. She looked small, thin, and tired. Her dress was torn at the bottom. Her long brown hair was messy, sticking to her face. She held something in her hands, a dirty brown sack, tied with string. Eli narrowed his eyes. Strangers didn't come around here much. Not unless they were lost. Or running from something. He walked to the fence line and waited. As she got closer, he saw her face better young, maybe 20, but her eyes looked older, worn out, scared. She stopped right at the fence. "Evening, ma'am," Eli said calmly. "You all right?" The girl didn't answer. She just stared at him for a moment, breathing hard, like she'd walked a long way. Then she nodded once. Think. I need help." Eli looked at her hands. The sack she carried was shaking a little. Not from weight, but from the way her fingers trembled. He opened the gate. "Come on, let's get you some water." She stepped in slow, like she was scared he might change his mind. He led her to the porch and sat her down on a wooden chair. Then he brought a cold glass of well water. She drank it fast. Too fast. Like she hadn't had any in days. When she finished, she wiped her mouth with the back of her hand and looked down at the sack again. "What's your name?" Eli asked gently. "Lydia." He nodded. "I'm Eli. This here's my land." She looked around. "It's quiet. That's the way I like it." He didn't ask her too many questions. Folks who are running usually tell you what they need when they're ready. She stayed quiet a little longer. Then finally said, "I came from Pine Creek." Eli raised his eyebrows. Pine Creek was trouble. Dirty mining town. Bars, fights, broken families. He'd heard too many bad stories from that place. "Not many good things come from Pine Creek," he said. She gave a weak smile. "No, sir, not much at all." She placed the sack on the porch floor. Her hands shook harder now. Eli watched her closely. "You can leave that if you like. I'll take it inside." "No," she said quickly. "Please, I need you to open it." Eli looked at her, confused. She took a breath. "Please, take them off." The wind blew soft across the porch. The horses whinnied faintly in the distance. But everything else went still. "What's in it?" Eli asked. She looked him in the eyes. Her voice was soft, but clear. "My baby's shoes." Eli didn't move for a second. She slowly untied the sack herself and opened it. Inside were 2 tiny pairs of shoes. One red, one brown, torn, muddy, and worn thin. Little feet had once danced in them. Now they sat still, wrapped in silence. Eli stared. He didn't know what to say. "I carried them since I left," Lydia said, eyes full of tears. "I walked 2 days, couldn't leave them behind." "Where are your children now?" Eli asked gently. She looked away. "Gone. Fever. It took them fast. I buried them outside town 3 nights ago. No stone. Just a cross made from sticks." Eli felt something heavy press down on his chest. He'd seen death before. He'd buried his wife 7 winters back. But children, that pain never leaves a mother. "I didn't know where to go," Lydia whispered. "I just walked. And then I saw your gate. I thought, maybe God led me here." Eli looked at the sack, then back at her. "You want to bury the shoes?" "Need to," she said. "I can't carry them no more. It's like their weight is pulling me under." Eli nodded slowly. "All right," he said. "We'll give them a proper rest." She looked up at him with soft, wet eyes. And for the first time in days, Lydia breathed like someone who might survive, after all. The night air was cool, and the stars stretched wide across the dark sky. Eli sat on his porch after Lydia went inside. He held the sack in his lap. Inside were the 2 little shoes, muddy, torn, and still carrying the weight of a mother's pain. He hadn't touched them since she opened the sack. He didn't want to. He'd seen pain in people before, men who lost wars, wives, land. But Lydia's kind of pain. It was deep, silent. It sat behind the eyes, heavy like a storm that never broke. Eli finally stood and went inside the house. Lydia was sitting by the fire. She looked small in the old rocking chair, knees pulled up, blanket over her shoulders. Her eyes stared into the flames like she was watching a different time, maybe a better one. "I got a box in the barn," Eli said gently. A good one. I used it to keep horse medicine, but it's clean. Strong wood. We could use it. If you're still wanting to bury the shoes. Lydia nodded. Yes, please. He went to the barn, found the box, dusted it off, and lined the bottom with a clean piece of cloth. He brought it back to the porch and carefully placed the shoes inside. He didn't speak while he did it. He could end. Single quotes T. Lydia came out and watched. Thank you, she said softly. Eli gave a short nod. There's a willow tree out back, near the fence line. Ground's soft there. She followed him. They walked slow in the moonlight. The sound of crickets filled the space between them. He carried the box. She carried a small white flower she picked from near the porch. When they reached the tree, Eli handed her a spade. You want to do it? He asked. She shook her head quickly. I can't. So Eli knelt down and dug the hole himself. The ground was cool and moist. Lydia stood close, holding the flower with both hands. Her fingers kept shaking. When the hole was ready, Eli placed the box inside gently. Lydia stepped forward and dropped the flower in. Then she whispered something too quiet to hear. Maybe a name. Maybe a prayer. Eli covered the box with dirt, packed it down smooth, then stood back, hands dirty, heart heavier than before. I didn't get to bury them proper the first time, Lydia said. We were living in a tent, had no money, no church. I used a soup can as a shovel. Eli didn't know what to say, so he just stood beside her. Lydia looked at the small mound of dirt beneath the willow tree. I was alone, she said. No one cared. You're not alone now, Eli said. She looked at him. Her lips quivered. She didn't speak. Instead, she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him, tight, like someone holding onto a rope above a deep river. Eli didn't move at first. Then he slowly brought his arms around her, holding her like she might fall apart if he didn't. For a moment, time stood still. Then the wind picked up. The tree leaves danced above them, and something in the air felt lighter. Later that night, Eli cooked a simple meal: beans, bread, and boiled potatoes. They ate in silence, but not the bad kind. The kind where words aren't needed. Lydia looked at the wooden walls of the cabin. This place is peaceful, she said. Built it myself. After my wife passed. I'm sorry, she whispered. He nodded. Me too. After dinner, Lydia helped clean up. She moved slow but careful, like someone trying to make herself useful. Eli noticed the way she looked at the table, the old photos on the shelf, the fire in the hearth. Like these simple things gave her comfort. I can stay just one night, she said. You can stay as long as you need, Eli replied. I don't want to be a burden. You're not. Burdens don't cry over baby shoes. Lydia smiled just a little, but it was real. That night, Eli made up the bed in the guest room. He gave her a soft pillow, a clean blanket, and left a lantern by the door. She looked at the room like it was the first safe place she'd seen in years. Before she closed the door, she turned and looked at him. Thank you, Eli, for burying what I couldn't carry no more. He nodded once. Get some sleep. She closed the door, gently, and for the first time in a long while, the house didn't feel so empty. The morning sun rose over the hills, casting a golden light across Eli McGrow's land. Birds chirped softly, and the breeze carried the smell of fresh earth. The little grave under the willow tree stood quiet, peaceful. Inside the house, Lydia was already awake. She had folded the blanket, washed her face, and tied her hair back. Her face still showed pain, but her eyes were calmer, now less afraid. Eli sat at the table, sipping coffee. You sleep all right? He asked. She nodded. Best sleep I've had in weeks. He poured her a cup. Coffee's strong. I don't mind strong, she said with a small smile. After breakfast, Lydia stepped outside and looked across the ranch. The horses were moving slowly in the corral. The wind danced through the dry grass. It was quiet out here, too quiet to last forever. Eli walked up beside her. You ever worked on a ranch? She shook her head. No, sir, but I can learn. You got 2 hands, that's enough. That day she helped clean the barn, fed the chickens, and even managed to fix a loose fence board. Eli watched her closely. She was stronger than she knew. By evening, they sat on the porch again. Lydia looked out toward the hills. I don't miss that town, she said, but I'm scared he might come looking. Who? Eli asked, though he already had a feeling. My husband, she said. If you can even call him that. Eli stayed quiet. Let her speak. He never cared about the kids. Just drank, Hit yelled. And when they got sick, he left for 2 days. When he came back, it was too late. I think he blamed me. Eli clenched his jaw. Men like that didn't belong on this earth. I buried them myself. Middle of the night. Took everything I had just to walk away. You did right, Eli said. You got out. Lydia nodded, but her hands were tight in her lap. She was still afraid, not of the dock but of a man who thought she was his to break. Later that night, Eli heard something. A horse, riding fast. Coming from the south road, he stepped off the porch, rifle in hand. A man on a black horse appeared, kicking up dust. He wore a dusty coat, a wide hat, and a mean look in his eyes. He stopped at the edge of the fence, and looked right at Eli. You McGrath, the man barked. I am, Eli said. Come. You got a woman here. Name of Lydia. Eli didn't answer. She's my wife, the man said, voice full of anger. Ran off with my stuff, took my money. I want her back. Eli gripped his rifle a little tighter. She didn't take nothing but her own feet and a sack with shoes, Eli said, and even that was too much weight. The man spit in the dirt. She's mine. Eli stepped forward. His voice was low, but strong. No, sir, she ain't. Just then, Lydia stepped out onto the porch. Her eyes met the man's. Her face went pale, but she stood tall. You don't own me, Wade, she said. You never did. Wade laughed. A dry, cruel sound. You think this ranch is gonna protect you? You think he's some kind of hero? Eli didn't flinch. I don't care what you think. You want trouble. You picked the wrong dirt to step on. Wade leaned forward in his saddle, eyes sharp. I'll be back, he growled. She's coming with me. Try, Eli said, and see how far you get. Wade turned his horse and rode off, dust rising behind him. Lydia sat down on the porch, her face pale. He's gonna come back, she whispered. Eli sat beside her. Let him. I've faced worse than loud men with weak hearts. She looked at him. I'm tired of running. Then stop, he said. This is your line in the dirt. We hold it. Lydia stared at the horizon, where the sun was slipping behind the hills. And for the first time, she didn't feel like prey. She felt like someone who could fight back. The next 2 days passed slowly. The air felt heavy. Even the horses were quiet. Lydia helped Eli with chores, but her hands trembled when no one was looking. Wade hadn't come back yet, but both of them knew he would. Men like him always came back. Each evening, Eli kept his rifle close. He added extra nails to the front gate. He made sure the lanterns were full and the barn doors stayed locked. The ranch had seen coyotes and wolves before, but this time, the danger wore boots and rode a black horse. That night, the moon was high and full. Eli stood by the window, watching. Lydia sat near the fire, staring into the flames again. He's coming, she said quietly. I know. I'm not running this time. Eli looked at her. Her shoulders were still small, but they were squared now. Stronger. Good, he said. We'll face him together. Suddenly, the sound of hooves thundered across the dry earth. Then a voice loud and full of anger. Lydia, get out here. Now. Eli stepped onto the porch, rifle in hand. Wade was already inside the fence. Line, gun drawn, face twisted in rage. Lydia walked out and stood beside Eli. She didn't hide. You got 5 seconds. Wade barked. Or, I burn this whole place down. Eli didn't blink. You fire 1 shot, and I'll put you 6 feet under. Wade pointed his gun straight at Eli. You think you're faster than me, old man? Eli didn't answer. The wind stopped. Silence filled the air. Then dash boom. A single shot rang out, but it wasn't Eli who fired first. It was Lydia. She held a small revolver, shaking but steady. The bullet hit Wade's shoulder, knocking him off the saddle and into the dirt. Eli rushed forward and kicked the gun from Wade's hand. Blood poured from the wound, and Wade groaned in pain. You shot me, he screamed. No, Lydia said coldly. I stopped you. She stepped forward and looked down at him. You beat me. You let our children die. You chased me across the dust thinking I'd still be yours. But I'm done being afraid of you. Wade tried to sit up, but Eli raised the rifle again. Don't, Eli warned. Lydia looked at Eli. We're not killers. Eli nodded. But I know where the sheriff lives. Wade groaned again, holding his shoulder. You're both gonna regret this. No, Lydia said. I think I've regretted enough already. By sunrise, the sheriff had Wade in cuffs and packed him into the back of a wagon. He didn't say a word as they rode away. Eli watched the dust cloud disappear down the road. Lydia stood beside him, eyes still wet, but something new in them freed him. Later that morning, Eli walked with her to the willow tree again. They stood in front of the small grave. Lydia knelt and touched the dirt gently, like saying goodbye one more time. "I didn't think I'd ever get here," she whispered. "You're here now," Eli said. "I thought carrying their shoes would keep me close to them," she said. "But the truth is, I was carrying the pain. And I almost lost myself." Eli nodded slowly. "But you didn't." She looked at him. "I think they're at peace now." "So are you," he said. Back at the house, Lydia hung up the old sack on a nail beside the door. Empty now, but full of memories. Eli cooked eggs and bacon. Lydia poured the coffee. As they sat at the table, she smiled. "I'd like to stay," she said. "If you'll have me." Eli smiled back. "I'd be glad." For that, she reached across the table and took his hand. "Thank you for giving me something I thought I'd never have again." "What's that?" "A place to belong." The willow tree still stands tall on Eli McGraw's ranch, and beneath its shade rests the past, silent and at peace. But inside that small wooden house, something new has taken root. Not just safety, but a second chance. Because sometimes, all it takes is one kind heart, one safe porch, and the courage to finally let go of what's too heavy to carry.